Ahead of crossing to Chris Hope, let's just have a quick look at some of the details that came out in that contract with the people today. The headlines were, stop the boats within 100 days by using international treaties that already exist. They simply need to be imposed. And that includes towing boats back to France. Now, that could cause a major international diplomatic incident. It seems Nigel Farage doesn't care. He thinks that's a price worth paying. Next up, a net zero immigration policy. That ostensibly means one in, one out. And also a 5-year cap on benefits. Anybody coming to Britain. Those ideas will land and resonate with a lot of people. Let's cross now direct to our political editor, Chris Hope, who's in Merthyr Tydfil with Nigel Farage. Chris, over to you.
Well, we are waiting for Nigel to finish his interviews. So, I totally agree with your assessment there of this document. It's called Our Contract with You. I mean, in a sense, to me, it's the Conservative Party manifesto on steroids. Some of the ideas which you hear repeatedly often from the right of the Tory Party, they have adopted them and they say it's affordable. So far, the Institute for Fiscal Studies are saying that this is not affordable and it's out by tens of billions of pounds a year. But some of these policies, a tax on employers who hire foreign workers, we knew about that, freezing non-essential migration, returning boats to France, those arriving here illegally, 30,000 more members of the armed forces. That's not the national service, that's fully fledged our members of the armed forces, increasing the tax-free income allowance from around £12,500 to £20,000. All public sector bodies to be forced to buy 3/4 of their food from UK suppliers, probably farmers in this sense. Leaving the ECHR, proportional representation in the House of Commons, about having a patriotic curriculum in primary and secondary schools, including teaching of European imperialism and slavery as practiced by European countries and, in fact, other countries around the world, not just the UK, which you do know that the UK is often making a big issue about our role in that as a country, but other countries are doing it too. So in many senses, it's a wide-ranging document. And when Nigel Farage does come over, we'll be asking him, my first thing will be say to him, who on earth is this aimed at? Who are you thinking of when you think of a Reform UK voter? Is it somebody in the home counties, a Tory Party member, disaffected by Rishi Sunak, or is it somebody else? Is it someone here in Merthyr Tydfil? We are here in Merthyr Tydfil, don't forget, a place which has been ignored, some would say, by the devolved Labour government, and needs help and needs support and national recognition, and maybe now gets it, and that's why maybe Nigel Farage is here. So I think there's a lot to talk about with Reform UK. It's a big moment for Nigel Farage. He only became leader just 3 weeks ago. But Martin, Nigel Farage is with me now, and I'll go to him now. Nigel Farage, this document here, this contract with you, who are you writing for? Who are you aiming it at?
The great British public who want some hope, who want some aspiration, those at the lower end of the income scale who can't make ends meet, those who are trapped on benefits, and I mean trapped, they can't get off because you work for more than 16 hours a week, they take your benefits away. We're aiming at those people. We're aiming at people who would like well-paid jobs in the manufacturing sector by saying, look, we're going to be using steel and oil for years to come, why not manufacture?
And that's why you're in Merthyr Tydfil. Who is your typical Reform UK voter? Is it someone in home counties angry with the left-wing bias of some Tory policies, or is it somebody else altogether?
No, I mean, your average, a lot of our voters used to be Labour voters, and they've been on this journey. Some have come through UKIP and the Brexit Party, through the Conservatives in some cases at the last election, onto Reform. Lee Anderson is perhaps the best example of that. There are lots of people like Lee Anderson who just feel that this sort of metropolitan Labour Party isn't for them. And we're here, as you say, in Merthyr Tydfil. We're here because, Chris, Labour have run Wales for 25 years. They pay more tax per head, there's more government spending per head, and yet the outcomes on health and education are worse. And that's a warning as to what a Labour government might be, a bit like the Conservative government, just slightly worse, but also the point that here in Wales, some of the crazy things that have happened, no opposition. The Conservatives so divided, there's been no opposition.
Just in the back of this document here, it talks about £150 billion of savings per year. The Institute for Fiscal Studies, the IFS, which looks over all the main parties, has said in the last few minutes these sums don't add up.
And they've said that about the Labour manifesto as well, and the Conservative manifesto.
But you're out by tens of billions of pounds here.
This will be difficult. Yeah, this will be very difficult. Yeah. For any established or establishment group, this is going to be difficult. And I'll tell you why. This is radical. This is thinking completely...
Radical is dangerous. Liz Truss is dangerous.
Well, Liz Truss didn't propose spending cuts. Here we're proposing enormous spending cuts to fund what we believe is going to be a huge boost to the economy. And huge emphases in here, by the way, on things like small business. You know, 5.5 million men and women out there running their own businesses. I mean, they hate government because no one's on their side. And I think the most radical thing in here, but I think the most exciting thing in here, and you mark my words, this will be popular within 2 or 3 years with everybody, is we have to lift the threshold at which people start paying tax from £12,500 to £20,000. Why? Make work pay. Those people trapped on benefits can suddenly go to work and genuinely be better off.
That was a Lib Dem policy back in the day, Nigel Farage. In 2010, you remember?
Do you know what?
Daniel Alexander championed it.
It was actually a UKIP one in 2005.
Oh, forgive me.
No, I've been on this for a long time. For a long time. So number one, you get people off benefits and going back to work. Number two, those on low incomes will actually be better off, genuinely better off. And number three, you reduce the need for masses of unskilled migration.
Just on the practical nature of some of the things, small boats, pick them up, take them back to France. I mean, if it was that easy, it wouldn't be a crisis.
Well, leave the ECHR.
OK, so ECHR leaving first before that can happen.
Leave the ECHR, establish a law that says that no one comes via this route will ever be given refugee status. And then, if you have to, pick them up and take them back for their own safety.
And the issue there of migration, you want to get back to zero in a couple of years. Won't that be a huge problem for companies that rely on it?
No. This is zero net migration.
Okay.
It means skilled people can still come, people can go, of course. But overall, this increase in population of 750,000 every year, I think it's the biggest issue in the election. It affects everything from rents to availability of housing, to access to GP appointments, and I think the great British public are making that connection. And we're talking about it, everybody else wants to run away from it.
And the history, the idea of a patriotic curriculum?
I am just so sick to death of our youngsters being told that we are a uniquely bad country because we pursued slavery, as if we were the only country in history.
It was bad though, slavery. Right?
It was bad, yes, and every other European country, and it's still happening in many parts of the world today. But why not teach them as well that we spent 40 years with the Royal Naval Squadron driving slavery off the high seas, and that the British government spent more money stopping slavery than it ever earned from it. Make sure kids get a sense of balance.
There's a line at the back on page 23. It says here, tax at 40% spend, 10 billion a year. That's more than Labour taxing. They are 37.5% of GDP. Your tax you might impose in this country are bigger than Labour.
No, they're not, because they're not, because we're cutting.
Because you're cutting spending at the same time.
Exactly. And that's the point. We're cutting spending.
OK. And just finally, you can win 7 MPs, surveys say?
I've no idea.
3 last week, David Bull, 7 today.
Well, good trend, but I've absolutely no idea.
What's your end game, just finally? Is it to take over the Tory party? A bridgehead, you say?
There isn't a Tory party. There isn't one.
Come on.
There isn't one.
There is a Tory party, and
Suella Braverman wants to marry me politically, you know, and David Cameron says he shouldn't go near me, and Lord Heseltine thinks I'm like Oswald Mosley.
Yes or no, to GBNews viewers, will you ever be a member of the Tory party?
I think it's extremely unlikely.
It's not a no, then?
Oh, goodness me. These are the Westminster Games you all play. My ambition...
I'm at GBNews. I'm playing Westminster Games.
My ambition is for this party to establish a beachhead, right, into Parliament, and to use that to build a mass movement over the course of the next 5 years. I don't think the Conservative Party will reform itself. There are people in there that are friends of mine who I'm close to. I very much hope they come and join me.
Who are they?
Well, you know who they are. I mean, they're, you know, okay. I mean, Suella and people like Jacob, they're in the wrong party.
Nigel Farage, thank you for joining us on GB News.